Member for Mason Hall South, Bagatelle, you may now join the debate.
Mr. Presiding
Just a
Officer.
second, before you continue, you could repeat it. The mic was off, so that
Standing order 42.6, I'd like to.
Leave us granted.
Thank you. Mr. Presiding Officer, honorable members, specially invited guests, my beloved constituents, and the people of Tobago listening and looking on, a hearty good afternoon. I rise today to contribute to the first THA budget of the second term of the Tobago People's Party and the Farley Chavez Augustine-led government. Make no mistake, Mr. Presiding Officer, the Tobago population woke up and saw our blatant oppression in the day, so they didn't want to take Bully Fair Night to experience more oppression. And they changed that by voting 15-0 for the TPP under the banner Tobago is we. Mr. Presiding Officer, the area representatives in this House have been given an overwhelming mandate by the people of Tobago to advance the cause of the island's development in a way that was not possible before. It was not possible because the island was saddled for 20 years with a myopic PNM-led THA and mostly an oppressive PNM central government. And these double negatives, Mr. Presiding Officer, delayed our progress on many fronts. They hampered Tobago when the Tobago private sector was spitefully targeted as airbridge flights never returned to pre-COVID levels despite 3 years of begging. Or when the licensing division in Trinidad operated like a terrorist sleeper cell and targeted Tobago, no doubt because of the 14-1 cutlassing in December 2021 elections. Or when we could no longer get bitumen or a blast license, or even the export license for the Studley Park quarry. Or when some permitting agencies treated the division of public infrastructure differently when it came to major infrastructure works, while under the PNM, no approvals were necessary. Or the refusal to advocate for the multi-million-dollar funding needed for the Milford coastal protection, or when they shortchanged the Crown Point residents after heartlessly evicting them from their lands for the new airport, or when they offered those evicted residents lands at $50 per square foot, placing the land so out of reach that the compensation could not allow the residents to build. While we are on compensation, Mr. Presiding Officer, the then former PNM Finance Minister boasted that they saved over $40 million allocated for compensation of Crown Point residents. They were happy that the residents could not demand more than what was budgeted for the lands. And now that they are in opposition, they now know about defending the small man. Well, the PNM didn't miss the water until the election well ran dry. 15-0. Mr. Presiding Officer, these examples are but some of the issues faced by the division of infrastructure alone. Multiply it by 10, and you will see the entire picture with each division of the Assembly giving its story on how the THA has been hindered by an uncaring PNM central government. Mr. Presiding Officer, I want to tell the people of Tobago, just as much as you have given us this overwhelming mandate, we are urging you to continue this trend as you see, feel, and experience what a government of the people, for the people, and by the people can do for you. Mr. Presiding Officer, for the Division of Public Infrastructure and Transportation, the allocation of $431.5 million provides the platform to scale the work already underway and shows our commitment to building Tobago's infrastructural future. It speaks to roads, drainage, public transport, community works, climate resilient infrastructure, green public infrastructure, collaborations with other divisions, and the kind of development that can connect villages, open economic opportunities, and support a more sustainable Tobago. Mr. Presiding Officer, the work ahead is important, but so too is the work has already begun. When I entered this portfolio just in February 2026, I understood very quickly that this is not a small division. Coming from a division as expansive as food security certainly prepared me for the challenge, but I must say, with public infrastructure, its responsibilities touch almost every part of daily life in Tobago. The roads we drive on, the drains that protect our communities, the bridges that connect us, the public spaces we use, the transport systems we depend on, and the basic infrastructure that allows people to move, work, learn, trade, and live with dignity. It's a division that all sectors of society feel every day, and the crown is heavy. But when I assumed office, I also met something very encouraging. I met a division with staff who were ready to work. I met technical officers, engineers, administrative staff, field crews, URP workers, traffic personnel, maintenance workers, and supervisors who understood that Tobago's public infrastructure challenges could not be addressed from behind a desk alone. They understood that the work had to be visible, it had to be practical, it had to reach communities, and it had to respond to what people were asking for. So, Mr. Presiding Officer, we hit the ground running, but with a little twist. We started to blend our infrastructure focus with major capital items and smaller green and blue-green infrastructure elements. This was in keeping with the alignment of the Tobago Development Strategy and the work of the division with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The THA has also honored its obligation of incorporating each THA budget to the UN SDGs by placing this budget in the framework of the 2026 to 2030 period, which coincides with the Vision 2030 agenda of the United Nations. Accordingly, since February, our focus has been guided by a simple principle. Infrastructure must work for the people. It must connect people. It must protect communities. It must improve safety. It must support economic activity. It must strengthen resilience. And it must prepare Tobago for a sustainable future. Today, I will speak to the work already undertaken by the division, the progress made in a short period of time, and how the priorities identified in this budget position us to scale that work through improved roads, stronger drainage systems, better transportation, community development, resilient infrastructure, and strategic investment across Tobago. Mr. Presiding Officer, one of the most visible areas of work since I assumed office has been paving and patching. Roads are personal. When a road is bad, people feel it every morning and every evening. They feel it on their way to work. They feel it when their vehicles are damaged. They feel it when the rains come. And when a road is repaired, people feel that relief too. That is why the paving and patching unit under the development program became one of the most active arms of the division during this period. Since February, the unit recorded close to 50 completed projects, with some ongoing as we speak, and more proposed projects. Thanks to all of the area representatives. Works were completed in several communities, including Buko, Blackrock, Golden Grove, Bacalet, Store Bay, Pigeon Point, Richmond Bay, Market Square, Robinson Street, Young Street, Calder Hall, Plymouth, Glen Road, Milford Road, Crown Point, Mount Pleasant, and other areas across Tobago. Ongoing works continue in areas such as Signal Hill, Top Hill, Mason Hall, Castara, Roxborough, Richard Trace, Woodlands, Hope Trace, Decatur Trace, Zion Hill, Bell Garden, Main Ridge to Roxborough, and Pembroke Main Road. Some of those works have been affected by issues such as water pipeline constraints, but they remain active areas of attention. Mr. Presiding Officer, the work also has a cost. For April and May alone, materials recorded for paving and patching, including hot mix, special mix, crush run, and rotten rock, amounted to approximately 1.34 million. That figure reflects the kind of daily investment required to keep the work moving. The public may see a paved surface. Behind that surface is planning, coordination, material, labor, equipment, timing, and teamwork. Mr. Presiding Officer, I have heard the jokes too. Some people have started calling me paving panting. So I moved from planting panting to paving panting. So another P coming, eh? I received that proudly with a smile. But behind the humor is a serious message. People need roads that work. They want to see action. They want to know when they speak, someone is listening, and the division is listening. But I want to also be honest with the public. Every road cannot be corrected by our one internal patching team alone. In some communities, our team has gone in and done what can reasonably be done with the resources, equipment, and scope available to them. Some roads require deeper preparatory works, proper drainage attention, base preparation, and contractual arrangements before the paving can be properly completed. So when residents see that a crew has done some work and moved on, that does not mean that the community has been abandoned. The internal team has done what it can do at this stage, and the remaining work must be completed through a more substantial process. That is why our proposed community-based road contractual preparatory works project is so important. It is coming. This project identifies roads across Tobago that require preparatory works before full paving or more extensive road improvement can be undertaken. It is estimated at approximately 37 million and covers communities across the island. So to residents in areas such as Sherwood Park, Glen Eagles Drive, Woodlands, communities in Mariah, Roxborough, Speyside, and many other parts of Tobago, and Brothersfield, I want to say clearly, we have heard you. Your requests are being taken into account, but we must be responsible. If we only patch what needs reconstruction, we will be back in the same place shortly after. If we only pave without addressing drainage, the road will fail. If we only respond to the loudest complaint and ignore the technical condition of the road, we will not be fair to the public. The Finance Secretary has identified the Accelerated Island-Wide Road Improvement and Infrastructure Upgrade Program as a flagship initiative. This program will cover road paving and rehabilitation across Tobago and will be delivered through a design-build-finance model. For too long, road improvement has been too dependent on limited internal capacity. The design, build, and finance approach allows the THA to bring the private sector in, right, into the public infrastructure delivery to accelerate the pace of works and create a more structured island-wide road improvement program to sustain a high-quality driving experience universally across Tobago. An expression of interest has already been issued for roadworks, including works connected to the A&R Robinson International Airport. That is critical because the airport is one of Tobago's major gateways. Proper road access and related infrastructure around the airport support tourism, trade, investment, safety, movement, and the smooth, positive driving experience upon arrival in Tobago. During the reporting period, work advanced on the preliminary design of the car park and fencing, conceptual design for the access road and car park arrangements, and continued collaboration with the Airport Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Presiding Officer, connectivity extends beyond our road network. It also includes the marine infrastructure that supports tourism, fishing, recreation, and access to some of our most important communities and destinations. During the reporting period, preliminary visits and assessments were undertaken for upgrades to key jetty infrastructure, including Little Tobago and Palatine. Site assessments were also conducted at the vessel slipways located at Buku and Pigeon Point Heritage Park to evaluate their operational condition and suitability for continued use by small craft and personal watercraft operators. As Tobago continues to strengthen its tourism product and support coastal communities, these facilities must remain safe, functional, and fit for purpose. As the budget prioritizes major improvement on our secondary roads, we understand the importance of roads to ensure connectivity. As Secretary Roberts mentioned, our road network must connect remote villages to urban hubs. It must support the person in Charlottesville, Palatine, Moriah, Bloody Bay, Bell Garden, Crown Point, Scarborough, Roxborough, and every district in between. Build Tobago must mean build all at Tobago. Mr. Presiding Officer, that same thinking guides several other road, bridge, and pedestrian access projects now being advanced by the division. I want to speak specifically about the Kokowati Bridge, where a permanent bridge will be constructed to replace the temporary Bailey Bridge across Sandy River. This project is close to me, not only because of my responsibility as secretary, but because Kokowati is home. It is where I grew up. I know what proper access means to that community. This development will provide much needed access, safety, and reliability for residents. Other important access and safety projects are also being advanced. The Mount St. George Village Street #1 road widening project will support improved traffic flow by widening an existing road to safely accommodate two-way movement. I can't wait myself. The Louisdor Sidewalk Project will provide sidewalks and drainage infrastructure to support safer pedestrian movement from the health facility at the primary school along the main road. The Spring Garden Orange Hill Bridge will reconstruct a dual bridge system to create a widened roadway critical for managing traffic during peak hours. And the Friendsfield Bridge project will reconstruct a dual bridge system to create a widened roadway critical for managing traffic during peak hours. That Friendsfield Bridge project will replace the existing structure with an upgraded bridge designed to improve function and reduce the vulnerability to debris blockage during heavy rainfall. And if Tima would tell you that works always had to station a backhoe across there to bring relief to the residents. These are the types of projects that connect people to home, school, health services, work, worship, business, and community life. Mr. Presiding Officer, I now turn to an area of work that is sometimes less visible, but absolutely critical: drainage, maintenance, and resilience. While steering food security, natural resources, the environment, and sustainable development, while steering that ship, I moved the motion for the THA adoption of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and its alignment with the Tobago Development Strategy, now known as the Blueprint. As you recall, Mr. Presiding Officer, the imperatives of climate change and the vulnerability of small island developing states to natural hazards place a major burden on states to develop resilient infrastructure for sustainability. Infrastructure damage can cause upwards of 30% of all post-disaster damage assessment costs. In Tobago, we know that when the rain comes, the public quickly understands the value of drainage. I have a pile thick so. A drain that is clean, water course cleared, a slab rebuilt may not make the headlines. But when heavy rainfall comes, these are the works that help protect homes, roads, businesses, and communities. With the rainy season upon us, these hidden works become even more important. That is why in the period, the division also placed emphasis on drain cleaning, water course maintenance, retaining walls, gabion works, box drains, slipper drains, and related interventions. Across the Scarborough district alone, the road maintenance section completed a wide range of drainage and maintenance activities, including works at Sangsters Hill, Orange Hill, Plymouth, Mary's Hill, Bamboo Gully, Spring Garden, Upper Bethel, Piccadilly, Shervan, Mount Pleasant, Alfred Crescent, Crown Point, Susselands, Boko, Hampden, Storby, Canaan, Blackrock, Allfields North, and the Claude Noel Highway area. These works included cleaning box drains, slipper drains, and earthen drains, rebuilding slabs, repairing crossings, and maintaining drainage infrastructure. Mr. Presiding Officer, this is the work that protects the paved roads. This is the work that reduces flooding. This is the work that helps communities get through heavy rainfall with less damage, less stress, and less disruption. The division is also advancing proposed drainage and construction works in multiple districts, including Scarborough, Moriah, Roxborough, and Speyside. These include box drains, retaining walls, slipper drains, culverts, catch pits, gabion basket walls, and watercourse cleaning. Another important intervention is the Cocoa Reef Pump Maintenance Project, which speaks directly to the importance of maintaining the systems that manage stormwater in vulnerable areas. This project involves the maintenance of the stormwater pump station along the Milford Road, which discharges against gravity into a nearby drain. Procurement of a maintenance contractor has been advanced because infrastructure of this nature must remain functional, especially as we enter the rainy season. The budget for 2027 program takes this further through the Southwest Drainage Project. This project targets chronic flooding in areas such as Mount Pleasant and Lowlands, where stormwater management has been a long-standing concern. It will include construction of new drainage channels and box drains, desilting and upgrading of existing drainage infrastructure, and a more structured approach to stormwater management in both urban and residential communities. Mr. Presiding Officer, we must rethink drainage. The traditional approach treated water as something to push away as quickly as possible. But the new approach must combine grey and green infrastructure to ensure that we advance these works. So greater attention will be given to land use planning, soil protection, vegetation management, slope stability, and the design of public spaces that take into account the realities of increasing rainfall and changing climate conditions. Mr. Presiding Officer, when communities are designed properly, water is slowed, absorbed, filtered, and directed safely. That means better drainage, cooler public spaces, stronger environmental protection, improved road durability, and a better quality of life. The Roxborough Bloody Bay Road Retaining Wall is another important project identified for implementation. That corridor is critical to the movement of people along the eastern and windward side of Tobago. The area is vulnerable to slope instability, erosion, and landslides, and those risks threaten road users, nearby communities, and the continuity of the east-west connectivity. A retaining wall in that area is about safety, is about protecting the road, and it's about keeping communities connected. Mr. Presiding Officer, these investments demonstrate the difference between reacting after damage and preparing before damage. The same principle applies to the public safety work of the Traffic Management Unit. During the period under review, the unit conducted school zone assessments at Mason Hall Government Primary School, Bonaccord Government Primary School, and Pentecostal Light and Life. These assessments examine traffic operations, pedestrian movement, parking practices, school access, and road safety risks affecting students, parents, staff, and motorists. Plans for correcting these risks are in the works. The unit also undertook a traffic and roadway assessment at Top Hill Road in Speyside, looking at roadway conditions, traffic circulation, parking activity, and pedestrian safety concerns. Mr. Presiding Officer, pedestrian road safety must begin with our most vulnerable users, our children. With the increasing number of traffic incidents involving our youth, the Traffic Management Unit also implemented its first cycle of a school road safety program in June 2026, engaging primary school students through education and awareness activities in conjunction with the TTPS. The short pilot of the program was a success and will roll out to more schools in upcoming September term. In addition, 3.6 kilometers of road markings were completed during the reporting period in areas including Market Square Car Park, Main Street, Post Office Street, Gardenside Street, Park Street, Calder Hall Road, Bagatelle Road, and other locations. As our paving work is ramped up, we hear the public cry for proper road marking to organize traffic and maintain safety. The unit also undertook traffic signal and infrastructure maintenance, roadside safety enhancement, wall painting, stripping, and public space improvement works in areas such as Providence Road, Dunvegan Road, Signal Hill, Woodlands, Moriah, and other communities. I also want to highlight the Patience Hill Community Mural Project, which brought together the Traffic Management Unit, the Patience Hill Village Council, and community stakeholders. That project transformed the public infrastructure space for more positive social messaging around education, youth development, crime prevention, anti-drug awareness, and community responsibility. Mr. Presiding Officer, because this is now the Division of Public Infrastructure and Transportation, transport must also be part of the conversation. Our mandate now accounts for how people move across Tobago, how communities connect, and how transport supports daily life, business, tourism, education, and access to services. During this reporting period, the inaugural World Public Transport Day was held in collaboration with the Public Transport Service Corporation. Free bus rides were offered to the public to raise awareness and encourage greater use of public transport. The response from the public was extremely positive. That tells us something important.
Member, you have 3 minutes of speaking time remaining.
3 minutes? Tobagonians are ready for a stronger conversation about public transport. They are ready for improved coordination, better awareness, safer mobility, and more reliable systems. In addition, it sets the stage for a more intensive discussion with PTSC to diversify and increase services to the Tobago population, including the reintroduction of a tongue service and increased access to communities with the longest wait time for transportation. A sustainable future also requires a better transport future. Mr. Presiding Officer, the Finance Secretary identified public infrastructural upgrade in urban and rural communities as one of the major physical infrastructure projects for fiscal 2027. This program represents a restructuring of what many persons know as the Unemployment Relief Program. URP has always carried value when managed properly. It puts people to work while improving the places where Tobagonians live, worship, learn, move, and gather. Since February, URP supported works in drainage, embankment protection, sidewalk restoration, community facilities, school agriculture, environmental cleanup, and assistance to vulnerable residents. The URP construction unit undertook 86 projects in total, with 41 completed projects across community public works and home assistance and initiatives. At Riseland, URP completed significant gabion basket embankment works to help prevent erosion, land loss, and risk to surrounding properties. At Lambo, drainage and road repair works were completed at Moses Hill to assist with stormwater management and improve access. At Argyle, a reinforced concrete box drain was constructed to improve stormwater conveyance and reduce local flooding. At Lekito, pedestrian sidewalks were restored to improve community safety. URP also supported works at community and faith-based facilities, including structural and electrical improvements, covered entrances, safety railings, and waste management support. One of the examples that speaks directly to the human side of infrastructure was the installation of a custom safety railing in Mason Hall to support safe and independent mobility for a visually impaired resident. That is infrastructure that works for the people. Mr. Presiding Officer, the Women's Program also continues to provide daily cleaning.
Your speaking time has elapsed.
Thank you.
That the member be given additional time to complete her presentation.
Members, the question is that 10 minutes of additional speaking time be given to the member. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against? The ayes have it. Member, you have 10 minutes of additional speaking time. You may continue your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Thank you, members. URP's agricultural work also deserves attention. The program has supported crop production, seedling distribution, and school agro-engagements. Students at Rocks Road Secondary School, for example, benefited from agricultural support through land rehabilitation and hands-on crop production activities. This connects employment, education, food security, and community development. This is results-based governance at ground level. URP is also preparing to expand its role through agricultural diversification. Looking ahead, the restructured public infrastructural upgrade program will place greater emphasis on measurable outputs, community-level delivery, environmental works, minor roads, drainage, and local infrastructure improvements across urban and rural Tobago. Mr. Presiding Officer, there are also several long-standing infrastructure concerns that have challenged Tobago for decades, including the Turpin Bend, the Silcotton Tree Road in Mariah, that's Devines Road, and Bad Rock. During the reporting period, a formal visit was made to the Embassy of the People's Republic of China, and discussions commenced with international partners to explore avenues for technical cooperation and support in addressing these complex sites. The discussion remained preliminary, but important groundwork is being laid as we seek practical solutions that can improve safety, strengthen resilience, and reduce the risk these areas continue to pose. Mr. Presiding Officer, in 5 months, certainly we have not solved every infrastructural challenge in Tobago. I will not stand here and pretend that every road is fixed, every drain is cleared, every bridge is rebuilt. That would not be honest. And the people of Tobago know better. But what I can say is that the work has started. The teams are moving. The division is responding. Communities are seeing progress. Long-standing issues are being placed back on the table. And where the work is too complex for a quick fix, we are getting technical expertise from international bodies to come in. We have paved and patched roads across Tobago. We have advanced preparatory works for communities that require more than internal intervention. We have supported drainage, cleaning, and maintenance ahead of the rainy season. We have used URP to strengthen community infrastructure and provide meaningful support on the ground. We have advanced school safety, road marking, and traffic management. We have begun building out the public transport conversation, and we have taken steps towards major strategic projects that will support Tobago's future. We do all of this remembering our mission, building infrastructure that works for people. I do not take my position of stewardship lightly as I continue to build out a division that responds with urgency, discipline, and care. Mr. Presiding Officer, as the classic Calypso reminds us, the journey now starts. We have started with energy. We will continue with discipline, and with the support of the staff, the workers, the communities, and this honorable House, we will continue building resilient public infrastructure that serves all the people of Tobago in this greatest little island of the planet. I thank you.
Member for Lambo Lowlands, you may now join the debate.
Mr. Presiding Officer, my time and start yet, eh?
That will be determined by me, sir.
I plead for your determination. Mr. Presiding Officer, I rise to contribute to this important budget debate on behalf of the Division of Food Security with a clear and simple message. Food security is national security. First, let me thank the Chief Secretary for the confidence he placed in me, and more so the people of Lambo Lowlands, which includes a little piece of Signal Hill, part of Canaan, Canoe Bay, may I say. So I want to thank them for the confidence they placed in me. Not only they didn't see it fit for one term, but they say one good term deserves another. Mr. Presiding Officer, the external environment is marked by climate change, supply chain interruption, rising inflation and food prices, and geopolitical uncertainties.
Member?
Russia-Ukraine prolonged conflict.
Member, you're reading a presentation.
I thought it was natural in the budget, Mr. Presiding Officer, but I plead for standing order 42-6.
Leave granted.
And if I did get cocky, I would have just look like I'm watching here. But the U.S.-Iran war, the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. As a result, the ability of a nation to feed its people can no longer be viewed as optional, but is now critical, Mr. Presiding Officer. For small island developing nations such as Trinidad and Tobago, the notion food security is urgently important. The United Nations defines food security as a state where all people at all times have physical, social, and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food to meet their dietary needs for an active life. The notion is anchored by 4 central pillars, Mr. Presiding Officer: availability, access, utilization, and stability. Food insecurity refers to when these conditions do not exist. Further to this, the United Nations recognizes access to adequate food as a fundamental human right. The eradication of hunger and the achievement of sustainable food systems by 2030 is the United Nations' second sustainable development goal, zero hunger. It is estimated that hundreds of millions of people worldwide still face acute food shortage. Mr. Presiding Officer, food security is not only a grave concern for developed countries, but CARICOM, by its 25 by 2025 initiative, extended to 2030, is a major regional agricultural and food security strategy that aims to reduce the Caribbean community's extra-regional food import bill by 25%. Further, Mr. Presiding Officer, the World Meteorological Organization has confirmed the development of a strong El Nino for Tobago and the wider Caribbean. The El Nino effects can lead to water resource strain, potential agricultural stress, and the increased risk of bushfires. The Trinidad Guardian newspaper of June 7, 2026, highlighted a United Nations report entitled State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World Addressing High Food Price, Inflation for Food Security and Nutrition. From 2022 to 2024, this country had approximately 400,000 people facing moderate or severe food insecurity. Mr. Presiding Officer, Tobago cannot wait any longer. Food security is now seriously a front-burner issue. As outlined in the Tobago People's Party Blueprint for Tobago, Tobago aims to become food secure and food sovereign by developing resilient and production systems. Tobago's agriculture sector must expand so that its population can be fed and the surplus, if there be any, be exported. Food sovereignty would ensure that farmers and fisherfolk can maintain necessary food production cycles without heavy or total reliance on external inputs. Mr. Presiding Officer, as stated in results-based governance, a pathway to prosperity, budget statement for fiscal 2027, the strategic goal of the Division of Food Security is to increase agriculture sector's contribution to Tobago's gross domestic product, or the GDP, to 2% in fiscal 2027, up from the current 1%. One of the critical pillars or drivers of the division's volume expansion strategy is the implementation and expansion of the Mega Farm program. This program is designed to transform agricultural practices in Tobago from largely small-scale and fragmented production into a more coordinated, efficient, and commercially viable system. Under this program, several acres of state lands at the Friendship Agro Park and Colon Estate would be organized into productive agricultural zones where farmers can operate at scale with shared infrastructure and support services. The design for the Friendship Agro Park has been completed, and the division is currently awaiting approval of a CEC from the EMA. I hope we GET it very soon. This mega farm concept, Mr. Presiding Officer, will facilitate the production of selected staples, fruits, and vegetables. The set target is an increase in production by 10% in fiscal 2027, and expansion to 50% by 2030. Labor is critical. It's a critical component of any agriculture initiative. The strategic placement of the Community-Based Environmental Protection and Enhancement Program, commonly known as CPEP, the labor force, under the Division of Food Security, offers an exciting opportunity to simultaneously address employment opportunities, land development, and food security. Mr. Presiding Officer, just before I wrap up, I will go a little deeper into the CPEP, but three other points that I will go off on as soon as I complete the formal part of this proceedings. Mr. Presiding Officer, allow me to mention the other local areas that the Division of Food Security and its associated companies intend to pursue in fiscal 27. Cold storage facilities are an essential infrastructure within the agricultural value chain. Such proper facilities help to reduce post-harvest losses, preserve the quality, safety, and marketability of the produce, increase farmers' income, and support market expansion. The current facilities managed by the Tobago Agribusiness Development Company, namely TADCO, are over 40 years old. And as it's said in local parlance, they have done their time. New and expanded cold storage capacity is therefore critical to the achievement of sustainable agricultural growth and the long-term transformation of the sector. TADCO will seek a capital injection of about $40 million for new facilities at Shaw Park. Agricultural access roads are not merely transportation corridors, but are to be viewed as vital economic arteries within the agricultural infrastructure. Facilities reliable access to farms, markets, processing facilities. Investment in access road networks can lead to an increase in farmers' output, reduction in post-harvest losses, encourage youth participation, and improve the livelihoods of rural communities. Bill of quantities for over 20 projects have been completed in preparation for continued development works. And just to go off on this a little, Mr. Presiding Officer, I just really want to let Tobago know that as much as we have all these requests for access roads and access to all kinds of things, this division under my watch will not be pursuing to develop any access roads if we cannot be ensured after visiting that they're going to be produce coming out of it. We have to make it make sense. Investment. Sorry, I just was about the 5 seconds there. I went and read back something. Fishing facilities. Construction of the Palativier fish facility is at 28% as of May 2026. King Peter's Bay fishing facilities. Discussions are ongoing with the stakeholders to finalize the drawings. Demolition and reconstruction of the fish facility at Corland Bay is planned for fiscal 2027. Upgrade works to the Delaford Bay fish facility is also to be commenced in fiscal 27. Construction of a modern tissue culture and plant pathology laboratory. The Division of Food Security recognizes that this is a strategic investment in agricultural development. It facilitates the early detection of pests and diseases, swift diagnosis and response to disease outbreak, and rapid multiplication of disease-free, genetically uniform planting material under strict conditions. This project is in the planning stage and the bill of quantities have been completed, Mr. Presiding Officer. Another important component in any agricultural system is the presence of a veterinary diagnostic laboratory. This laboratory enables the capability to detect, diagnose, monitor, control animal diseases, and therefore protects the livestock sector, strengthens food security, and safeguards public health. The project manager has been engaged and the final drawings have been reviewed. Education and training are fundamental to the objective of ensuring food security and sovereignty. The main benefits are increased agricultural productivity, technology transfer and innovation, youth development and employment, improvement, farm profitability, and capacity building. The division's commitment to agricultural education is vested in the collaboration between the Tobago Agricultural Research Initiative, TARI, and the University of Trinidad and Tobago, and the Tobago Agri-Technology Services Limited, TABS. This is an investment in the future prosperity, resilience, and sustainability of Tobago's agricultural sector. Mr. Presiding Officer, food security requires an all-on-board approach. It is a call to collaboration among all stakeholders. As Secretary of the Division of Food Security, I affirm my support to the pathway to prosperity. As Tobago presses on to be the greatest little island on the planet. Mr. Presiding Officer, Tobago must not continually be in panic mode whenever there are disruptions in the inter-island transportation system, as we just experienced a little while ago. A stronger, more resilient, and more self-sufficient island. The Division of Food Security is laying the groundwork for a more secure future where our people are nourished, farmers are empowered, and we can survive external shocks. Mr. Presiding Officer, how much time look like?
You have 12 minutes of speaking time.
What?
16 minutes of speaking time
I
remaining,
could
sir.
sell two. Mr. Presiding Officer, as promised, I wanted to just go back to the CPEP. CPEP has recently been moved over to the Division of Agriculture. And I just want Tobago to hear me very clear that this move definitely will not be business as usual. CPEP has currently over 500 workers. And this half and quarter day working thing would not be working under my watch. We have to understand that the government cannot be the only ones that give in. The citizens have to give up their honesty, their cooperation, and the time that they have been paid for. CPEP has 500 workers. And if we are to do the maths, that each of them scam you 4 hours when the day comes, that's 2,000 hours a day. We definitely cannot afford that when we are in the place that we are presently now. And this will not be, I repeat, will not be tolerated under my watch as secretary. We have to get to the place where we have to pull up our socks if changes has to be made. Nothing grows without changes. Even when you watch out that beard you have there, you didn't born with it. It develops as you grow, Mr. Presiding Officer. We have another, no, thing you look nice. We have another problem on the island, and I want to say again, I want it to be very clear that it seems like some of our residents believe that it's a THA problem. That's the problem of the giant African snail. It is all of us problem. And as much as we, as the THA and from this division, seek to develop the agricultural sector, if we don't have all hands on board, Mr. Presiding Officer, these snails will make this an impossible task. People are having these snails in their yard. Yes, I understand sometimes you have a problem with how to deal with it, but you have to put your hands to the wheel for us to get rid of this problem. I, as secretary, leave my bed and went out there at night with some of the workers. It was a good experience to me. Although I keep asking them if you could eat it. But the point is, when you're out there and you see the magnitude of what we are coming up against, what is there to be dealt with? From the division perspective, we are looking at implementing a couple more teams because the few teams that they have, clearly they are overwhelmed. So we are looking at creating a couple more teams that we can go out and make a bigger dent. But the bigger call, Mr. Presiding Officer, is each and every Tobagonian. That problem is each and every Tobagonian's problem, not the THA problem. It's all of us' problem. And I'm afraid if we don't get up and act and deal with this problem, as much as we sit here and talk about building an agriculture sector, these snails will work in the opposite. There will be no sector if we all don't get up and put our shoulders to the wheel. We just have to act, and we have to act now. Each and every Tobagonian has a responsibility, because last time I checked, it seemed like they're heading to each and every Tobagonian yard. It don't have a THA in each and every yard. You have a THA for each and every yard combined. So we have to put our shoulders to the wheel. This problem is a Tobago problem, and we have to deal with it as Tobagonians. Before I wrap up, in closing, I just want to touch a little on the market situation. And before I go into there, just to trick back, I didn't write it down, it just come to mind, that we hear all the people commenting all over Tobago about who is from Commerce and which chamber, and they're talking about the transition of CPEP and how it's going to be difficult. These are the same people that have been clamoring for change, and when change seems to be on the way, these are the same people that tell you every which way that the change can happen. And I say, if we, as a THA, a responsible THA, we're going to forge ahead with the changes once we see it, as fit for benefit, the benefit of Tobagonians. So the chamber could sing, they could even go in the soca monarchy, then go change their mind. Because we are forging ahead with the change that Tobago needs. I just want to touch quickly on the market. I had a couple meetings with the market vendors. And Mr. Presiding Officer, sometimes it's a little disheartening. When you walk the streets and you hear about the endless complaints, and people, the strange thing about some of us at times as human beings is that you take the laziest man from Tobago and you send him in America, he get worker of the year every time. Yes. Because there ain't nobody up there listening to your excuses and your nonsense. We have to get to that place where we have to let people understand, I pay you for this and this is what I want, nothing else. Because we are in the business of paying for excuses too long in the Tobago space. We have to start to pay for production. And it is on you, the employer, to insist that you get what you paid for. Because if you have one late pay, you will hear the end of it on Facebook. But they're scamming you every day, and know that is the best kept secret on the island. So just as how you just reveal when I ain't pay you, I go in and reveal that you ain't working for your money, and you have to start to work for your money. So as I wrap up, Mr. Presiding Officer, the future can only be bright if we all put our small lights together. The outlook for Tobago could be positive if we change our attitude. The Tobago House of Assembly is there for all Tobagonians, and we must stop seeing it as some way you could just run by when you want grant and when you want assistance, but see it as a place that if you put the work in and we produce as we should, then there will be surplus that you could afford all these programs that you look for support. Simple mathematics or science or whatever you call it, if you have a bucket with 2 holes and the one that bringing in the water is smaller than the one that giving out the water, you can have an empty bucket in due time. We have to understand that each and every Tobagonian have a responsibility to put in the work, put in the time, put in the effort to get out not only the salary, but a better Tobago. And if we could take a little part from that, get there little by little, I have no doubt, Mr. Presiding Officer, that Tobago, under this administration, will become the greatest little island on the planet. I thank you.
Belgian Glamorgan, you may now join the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Allow me to start by setting my own time. I rise to make this contribution on behalf of the Division of Health and Wellness in response to the great contribution that my colleague, Councillor Petalan Roberts,
Councillor.
And
continue.
In response to the presentation that my colleague, Councillor Petalan Roberts, made on Monday, and the presentations that are being made today. In an onset, I want to commend Councillor Petalan Roberts for the work that she has done in preparing, her and her team has done in preparing this year's budget. I know firsthand that it takes a lot of work to get the kind of product that she was able to produce and that we've all been able to produce. And it really, really takes a lot of discipline, it takes a lot of consultation, and it takes a lot of endurance to get us to that point. I also want to thank the members of the district known as Belgarden Glamorgan that runs all the way from Goldsboro to Kendall Farm School Junction for allowing me
Councillor Roberts, you are not allowed to record in the chamber. Please desist from doing so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. I would also like to thank the residents of Belgarden, Glamorgan, for allowing me another opportunity to represent them. And finally, as I round up my thank yous, I would like to thank the members of staff at the Division of Health and Wellness and the Tobago Regional Health Authority, because their contributions over the last 5 years since I've been in the leadership of that division has shown their dedication, their steadfastness, and their willingness to go above and beyond for the populations that they serve. Mr. Presiding Officer, health is one of those sectors that touches every single household, every single district, and every single family on the island. It is a young mother walking into an antenatal clinic. It is a father waiting for a diagnostic test result. It is a child in need of speech therapy. It is an elderly resident requiring wound care, home support medication, and assistance with living with dignity. It is also the public servant carrying the stresses of everyday life while trying to do their job. It is the worker that comes to work every day under pressure because somebody in Tobago needs care. So when we speak about the budget for health and wellness, Mr. Presiding Officer, we are not simply speaking about what happens in the health facilities, what happens in the buildings. We are not simply talking about line items. We are speaking about people. We are speaking about a Tobago that has a health system that is accessible, that is modern, that is responsive, that is compassionate, and is sustainable. We are speaking about having a system that goes beyond simply reacting to illness, but is built on sustainable, compassionate care for all. One that prevents disease, promotes wellness, supports staff, and uses data and innovation to improve outcomes. Mr. Presiding Officer, the work of the Division of Health and Wellness is very broad, and I would like all of us to understand it as such. Yes, we talk about what happens in the hospitals and the health centers, but we also need to talk about what happens in the Department of Public Health, Environmental Health, and we have also recently included significant approaches towards wellness and health promotion. I would also like to indicate that we are very proudly introducing our workforce wellness as well, because our staff needs to know that they are supported and we want them as healthy as the people they are trying to keep healthy. In other words, Mr. Presiding Officer, the mandate stands the full spectrum of health, from beginning all the way to the end. It is from this standpoint, Mr. Presiding Officer, that I want to speak today. Not simply about the activities that we have undertaken, but about the systems that we have been building within the division, the foundations that we have laid, the services that we have expanded, and the priorities that we must now carry into the next financial year. Too often in public life, we reduce the work of governments to really just events and announcements. Yeah? But the truth is, health outcomes improve when institutions are strengthened, and I want to encourage my colleagues. When departments are established and staffed, when policies are written, when processes are digitized, when partnerships are formalized, when staff are supported, and when, of course, the health facilities do what they need to do. health requires, success requires systems that actually work. Mr. Presiding Officer, one of the most important structural developments within the division over the last couple months has been the establishment of the Department of Wellness, Prevention, and Health Promotion. This department exists because we must truly understand one thing. If Tobago is really to win this battle against chronic diseases, poor health outcomes, and rising healthcare costs, and yes, the cost is rising. I continually speak about the fact that what we provide to the Tobago Regional Health Authority every month is $50 million to cover basic recurrent costs. We cannot simply build a system that is centered on only treating diseases after they have already occurred. We must build a system that works upstream, one that promotes healthy living, reduces behavioral risks, supports mental well-being, strengthens health literacy, and intervenes before illness becomes a crisis. I am therefore very pleased, Mr. Presiding Officer, to announce that over the last couple months, as we have developed the Department of Wellness, Prevention, and Health Promotion, we have already started doing that work. We are speaking about creating a brand new arm, one that is responsible for designing and driving population health promotion activities across Tobago. I am not sure if you remember a couple of weeks ago, there was footage of us doing aerobics in the courtyard. And as a matter of fact, it is 3:19 according to this watch. If you are a member of staff, we will have aerobics in the courtyard this afternoon again from 4:15. Come and be a part of it. We do not want to stop, though, by just creating a department on paper. Core infrastructure was developed, including a departmental policy framework, standard operating procedures, collaboration framework. So when you reach out to us, there are certain criteria you need to meet before we work closely with you. And that includes, or that is centered on us ensuring that everything we do in that department is actually data-driven, and we're not just doing something because it is the good or the nice or the fun in thing to do. We will be monitoring and evaluating every activity that the departments engage in, whether it is by ourselves or in collaboration with others. We have already done several things. For example, I learned that I had an elevated blood pressure because I actually attended one of the first activities of that department where we were looking at Salt Week. And my blood pressure was tested, and oh, Heavenly Father, the blood pressure elevated. And it is a perfect example of how that department is to work. Because at that point, I, as a secretary with responsibility for health and wellness, was counseled on what we were going to do to ensure that that does not get worse. And it included me writing for myself my plan towards ensuring that it does not get worse. And they have included in that follow-up. Doc, have you been walking? Have you been to ensure that it does not get worse? We have been collaborating with the Tobago Regional Health Authority, with CAFA, with PAHO, Cancer Society of Trinidad and Tobago. We've also started collaborating with other agencies. Secretary Hackett, we will be collaborating with you on Carnival and ensuring that we are very present to prevent the kinds of data that we've been seeing coming out about STIs happening and what happens in those situations. We are also collaborating very closely with ComDev and Social Protection, with youth and sports, and we will continue collaborating to do the kind of work that is required to prevent individuals from coming into our very, very, very expensive health centers and hospitals. I want to underscore, Mr. Presiding Officer, though, that the burden of these non-communicable diseases places not just a medical burden, but there is an economic burden as well. Not just the cost of running the health facilities, but the things it prevents every single one of us from being able to do effectively because we are not well. We recently had conversations with individuals who are amputees and talking about how some of them may have actually had high blood sugars that resulted in them losing their limbs, and what that means to them and what that means to their ability to be productive and to continue functioning. This department, I'm very proud, is critically strategically placed, and in the upcoming financial year, its focus will be to ensure that we treat with the non-communicable diseases, that we treat with our environmental health, that we treat with our mental well-being, and that we are out there encouraging every single citizen, every single resident to be healthy, to not have to come into our health centers and hospitals. We are also caring for our carers, and this is where the Workforce Wellness Unit comes in. This is an area I feel very strongly about because we continue to ask people to go above and beyond, and we need to ensure that they are capable and they are well enough to go above and beyond. They need to be supported. They need to be identified as having burnout issues, being overwhelmed, or whatever is required to ensure that they can provide the best service for the population we are asking them to take care of. Mr. Presiding Officer, this work is not cosmetic. It is foundational. In a health system, stress, burnout, and all of those are not abstract concepts. And therefore, we have to take specific care in ensuring that we treat with them internally before they become too much of a challenge. Healthy institutions require healthy workers. To my colleagues, healthy institutions require healthy leadership. Secretaries and assistant secretaries, healthy institutions require healthy leadership. Take care of yourself. Mr. Presiding Officer, apologies. A third area of progress has been what we've been doing in the Department of Public Health. Now, public health is that area that is least visible when it is doing the most work. It's about the food badge processing. It's about vector control. It's about picking up the garbage. It's about ensuring that our water and our food and all of those things are clean. It is about having emergency preparedness. You have no idea how much time and effort we put into preparing for emergencies. It is about ensuring that even though probably none of you in this room are concerned about what is happening with Ebola, there is an entire team in the background working day and night to ensure that we can respond, that we can identify it, and that we can respond if it does come to our shores. And that is why we have been spending quite a lot of time doing training programs for all of our categories of staff within the public health department. And that include our public health inspectors, our environmental health officers, and those officers attached to the county medical officer of health office. We have been training them in epidemiology, health intelligence, environmental health, emergency management, and risk communication. These are skills, Mr. Presiding Officer, that I pray we never need, but if we do, the staff is equipped to provide what is needed. We have also started digitizing the processes within the Department of Public Health. A significant step is being made towards ensuring that the services you require, the simple things like the food badge, that we could do that in a digital format, that we have better records. Those of you who may be building homes now know that your building plans and so forth need to come in a digital format. And that is because the overall process for getting those approved are in a digital mechanism right now. And we are going to continue working on those. The Chief Secretary earlier spoke about the issue with people, Tobagonians, being less clean than they used to be before. We have been doing significant waste collection, and that is where we pick up bulky items, and we will continue doing that. But I want to make a plug again to the people of Tobago that we really, 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 really need you all to think about it before you throw out that old fridge or that old stove. We have on, and I must admit though, this time when we did the white waste collection, we have not seen as many items on the streets right after the truck passed. So let me start by thanking the population for doing that. Thank you for listening to the call. Thank you for putting them out in time. And thank you for not putting them out, or at least not too many, putting them out after. I would like to indicate that the part of the readying of the new terminal of the A&R Robinson Airport includes quite a bit of public health infrastructure. And we have been responsible for putting those in and ensuring that as people travel to the island, their safety is already taken care of. Disease surveillance, emergency response, and protecting Tobago's health is our interest, and we have been doing the work in the background. Mr. Presiding Officer, we have also redesigned our division's health grants unit. Given the departure of the Department of Social Protection from the division, we've had to rethink what support we provide to the people of Tobago that are health-focused. And what we've been doing is ensuring that we can provide in instances where a medical requirement is not available in the public health system, we have been there providing it in the private health system to those who need it. And we've been doing quite a bit of that quietly in the corner, not making a hoopla about it. The Universal Child Benefit Program, better known as the $500 per baby per month until the baby turns 5 years old, that will be implemented within the Division of Health and Wellness. As the Chief Secretary indicated, the policy for that has already been approved, and we are now working through the mechanisms to ensure that it is implemented in a way that is safe and that is supportive of those who are supposed to receive it. And let me also repeat that as long as you have had the baby within a public health system in Tobago from January 1, 2026, you will get that. And yes, you will probably get, as he said, a little back pay because we have not been able to get it done as quickly as we wish. I would like to announce one thing, though. One of the areas that we recognize is deficient because of our challenges with WASA and water availability. We have created, in essence, a healthy homes policy that allows us to help people to ensure that their homes are healthy. And that includes, on one side, the outhouse eradication program, where if you still have an outhouse, if you still have a latrine, we will help you remove it and have an indoor water toilet facility. We have just, though, started reworking the policy that allows us to also help households with water tanks, because we recognize that there are a lot of communities, a lot of families who simply cannot afford the water tank. And even though some of us may have 2 and 3 and we could go several days without WASA sending water to our homes, those individuals, as soon as the water goes, they do not have access. And we know that safe, clean water is a public health issue. It's also a social issue, and we are ready and willing to partner with the communities to work with that. So as I said, we are working through the policies for making that a reality, and that will be implemented shortly. And I know some members, like the one who just said awesome, already has a list of people ready and willing. I want to just indicate, the Chief Sec spoke about it, so I will not do it in this, in my presentation, but we really have been working to ensure that our public health staff are in a safe and comfortable space. We are 80%, as he indicated, on the task force building. We are reworking right now the structure that we want to rebuild for our garage. And we actually are reworking it because we are doing the collaborative thing where we are partnering with the Tobago Regional Health Authority to ensure that we can fix all of our vehicles, both public health and TRHA vehicles, within the same garage. So we are reworking how we build that garage up Signal Hill to ensure that we provide services for both entities and possibly for other divisional vehicles at a cost. Can I say that, Secretary? At a cost. Now, Mr. Presiding Officer, I want to turn to the Tobago Regional Health Authority specifically. Now, this is the arm that provides the actual clinical care to the people of Tobago. It is where our hospitals and our health centers are. What we've been doing is really stabilizing and expanding the services that are currently available there. For the last couple months, we have been expanding what happens at the Scarborough General Hospital. If you go on weekends, you recognize that you can now get pharmacy services over the weekend and so forth. At the Roxborough Hospital, you are now getting some of those services on weekends and on public holidays. And we are ensuring that even within the primary health system, that we are expanding what those services look like. Very soon, the people of Charlottesville will have their health center back again. I did a visit, and part of it, we agreed that we would actually do way more work than we had originally planned for the Charlottesville Health Center. So the team is out there expanding the scope of work in essence, so that when the people of Charlottesville get back their health center, it is one that is probably the best health center on the island. Okay. Well, you know, it is in the Chief's district. Also note that
Member, you have 3 minutes of speaking time remaining.
Thank you. Kindly also note that at the Roxborough Hospital, we have introduced urology services. We have introduced cardiac services, and we are continuing to expand on that. Within the last couple months, we've had over close to 500 cataract surgeries also done at the Roxborough Hospital. Let me take a minute to also indicate that we have been expanding the digitization of the health sector, and we are now using Selma. Selma is the digital mechanism that is available for health records. We've had Selma for some time, and we are now expanding how we use Selma. So if you've needed to go to the A&E over the last month or so, you would recognize that when you are registering yourself or the person you are accompanying, that information is now being stored on a laptop, a computer. And it is because they are now putting the registration component of it directly into Selma. Selma is already used for pharmacy. It's already integrated with lab and a couple other areas. So we are working towards getting to the point of having full digital medical records. It's going to take some time, and let me indicate, Madam Secretary for Finance, it is going to take some money because we actually need the hardware for the staff to be able to walk around with their tablets to be able to get the information when you are interacting with them as a patient. I would also like to indicate that thus far we have 129 registered nurses, or nurses, let me not just say RNs, who have now moved from contract to permanent nurses, as we said at the beginning of the year. That is a process that is continuing. Gratuity payments have really been rolling out, and the TRHA, if you are employed at the TRHA and you are owed gratuity, I promise if it has not gotten to you yet, it will be getting to you soon, because it has been about 20 million handed over to the TRHA within the last couple months, strictly for the payment of gratuity. We have hired within the TRHA close to 800 people, so that 3,000 that the chief spoke about, if I am not mistaken, close to 800 of that has been in the health facility in the TRHA. So that includes about 154 in medicines, that is doctors and so forth, about over
Member,
200 nurses.
your speaking time has elapsed.
Mr. Presiding Officer, if you would permit me to ask for an extension of approximately 10 minutes for the member to complete her contribution. Thank you.
Member, the question is that 10 minutes of additional speaking time be given to the member. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any against? The ayes have it. Member, you have 10 minutes of additional speaking time to finish your presentation. You may continue.
Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. That includes, as I was saying before, about 150 different categories of medicine, about 200 or so nurses over the period, if we recognize when there were strike actions or protest actions happening in Trinidad because of the nurse-patient ratio. Those were not happening in Tobago because we actually have the standard nurse-patient ratio happening in Tobago and so forth. And we have had, of course, the support services, the allied services, and so forth, Mr. Presiding Officer. As we strengthen the TRHA, we must understand, Mr. Presiding Officer, that TRHA means strengthening the people who can do productive work for us. So we strengthen the organization that can take care of us. As I said before, the aim is to be well, and for those who are well to stay well. But if, heaven forbid, you become sick, the aim is to be able to take care of you in that period as well. Mr. Presiding Officer, when we step back and look, I think that there is only one conclusion that we can draw. and it is that there are a few conclusions. The first, Mr. Presiding Officer, is that the Division of Health and Wellness has been engaged in deliberate system building. We have not only been running programs, we have been establishing, formalizing, frameworking, improving grants, and doing the kinds of stabilization that is necessary for the organization to work. The second is that the division is working to rebalance Tobago's health agenda so that prevention and wellness occupy a more central space in the minds of us. This is absolutely necessary because, of course, if we reduce those who get ill, we are improving the quality of life overall on the island. The third is that the TRHA is now a more tangible space to provide service to the people of Tobago. I am genuinely tired, and it saddens me that because of some of the limited services we have on the island, when clients are flown to Trinidad, many people don't recognize that they sometimes go to Trinidad in a helicopter because we know and we think that their situation is critical. But when they get to Trinidad, they sit there for weeks before getting the services that they are supposed to get. And in some instances, we have to turn around and use the grants to pay for those services to be provided in the private system in Trinidad. Now, I say that to say this: we are not perfect. We are nowhere close to perfect, but in many of those instances, the families then come back to me and say, what we have in Tobago is really good. Because they did not realize how bad it was in the public health system in Trinidad in comparison. Sometimes we need a little bit of an experience to help us to recognize how well we are doing. The fourth thing is that we need to recognize that staff well-being is critical, and it is at the foundation of us providing good service. And the fifth is that while progress is being made, the work is very, very far from being done. And that is why the 1.09 billion that is required or that is in the draft estimates for the Division of Health and Wellness, it will be used if we get that in September, October, to continue building on the work that we have been doing. And that work includes, again, deepening prevention. It includes strengthening our public health intelligences. It includes working on ensuring that we have the Tobago Public Health Observatory. And that Tobago Public Health Observatory is going to be a digital space where all of our data from the Tobago Regional Health Authority, from public health, from everywhere is going to come in so that we can generate policies that really is based on real information, and not just because somebody said they want to do it. It is about, of course, continuing specialized services, expanding our NICU. It breaks my heart when we have to send those preemies to Trinidad. It truly breaks my heart when we have to do that. So we're going to work on ensuring that we can at least keep some of them, depending on their category, in Tobago. We'll be working very closely with the Ministry of Health on expanding, returning a cath lab to Tobago, which is part of our cardiac services. And the minister has indicated that they are very willing to work with us to continue doing that. And of course, we will continue expanding on what is happening at Roxborough and Scarborough, particularly on the compound adjacent to the Scarborough General Hospital. The establishment of the Tobago Oncology Center is one of those projects that is front and center in our minds. Again, it hurts my heart when we have to send our cancer patients to Trinidad. So we are working to prevent that as much as possible. Of course, we will continue with that $500 a month. We will continue our recruitment and retention, and we will continue the kind of training that is needed to ensure that our staff is the best equipped staff to provide the services that we can provide. Of course, there is never enough money. We could all agree with that. There is never enough money, but our equipment.
Remember, you have 2 minutes of speaking time remaining.
But our commitment is to ensure that we provide the best that we can, that we use the resources in the most effective and efficient manner so that the little that we get is going to be used for everything we need it to. With that, Mr. Presiding Officer, I want to commit to the people of Tobago that the Division of Health and Wellness, and by extension, the Tobago Regional Health Authority, is here to ensure that you are healthy in every regard. But I need you to work with me, and I need you to work with us to ensure that you do your part so that you are healthy as well. And when we do that, we really will get to that greatest little island on the planet status, because that is where we are all heading. And I am committing to work with the team to ensure we get there. I thank you.
Member for Signal Patience Hill, you may now join the debate.
Mr. Presiding Officer, may I stand on 42.6, please? Thank you.
Leave is granted.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Presiding Officer, I rise on the strength of the people of my electoral district, the people of Signal Hill, Patience Hill, and on behalf of all Tobagonians who have placed their trust and confidence in this administration for giving us 15 seats. And if we are watching football right now, World Cup, we call it 15-0. I stand in support of the fiscal year 2026-2027 budget under the theme, Results-Based Governance, a Pathway to Prosperity. I extend congratulations to Secretary of Finance, Trade and Economy, Councillor Peter Roberts, and Assistant Secretary Colonel Alexis, and the finance team for their vision and progressive outlook reflected in this financial map designed for Tobago. As Assistant Secretary in the Office of the Chief Secretary, with responsibilities for public safety and security, emergency management, property and real estate, hence my contribution today will be themed Strengthening Tobago's Security and Safety Services. Mr. Presiding Officer, Tobago is not a district of Trinidad. It is one of two constituent islands of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, with its own distinct identity, governance, structure, with a unique constitutional arrangement through the Tobago House of Assembly as a unique island jurisdiction with specific security challenges that require tailored, responsive, innovative, and sustainable solutions. This is precisely why the Department of Safety and Security needs to be established, not merely as an administrative function, but as a strategic investment in the protection of our people, assets, and our future. This department is being developed with a clear purpose and direction, grounded in sound policy, effective partnership, professional service delivery, and a steadfast commitment to accountability and the results. Mr. Presiding Officer, a society cannot achieve sustainable prosperity unless its citizens feel safe and protected. Public safety and security is not just a social obligation, it is a critical component of economic growth, investor confidence, community well-being, and national resilience. This budget therefore empowers us to improve beyond reactive responses and embrace proactive, intelligence-led, community-focused initiatives that deliver measurable results and create safer communities. The financial map outlined in this budget is a comprehensive strategic plan guided by the TPP blueprint, the Strategic Development Planning Pathway 2026 to 2045. It takes into consideration the holistic visions and the development pathway in making Tobago safe, secure, and governed by institutions that reflect the will and welfare of our people. The blueprint is built on accountability and self-determination. It recognizes that the current state of Tobago cannot govern its own security apparatus and makes decisions in real time about the protection of its citizens and tourists. And it is for this reason we are charting a course to improve the legislative and governance structure for modern Tobago. Mr. Presiding Officer, I will be doing a disservice to this Assembly and to the people of Tobago if I did not speak plainly about the security landscape we are committed to transforming. For decades, Tobago has enjoyed the reputation of being one of the safest islands in the Caribbean. However, we cannot ignore the reality that criminal activity has evolved. I want to repeat that. We cannot ignore the reality that criminal activity has evolved. Violent crimes have increased, and that our island has not been immune to the social challenges eroding our community fabric. School children misbehavior, indiscipline, and the dangerous allure of gang activity among our youth at present is perhaps the most urgent social and security challenges before us today. As we recently experienced, something normally happens on cartoon as what in Gotham City, right? And I must say that Tobago is we. And I urge all citizens in Tobago, if we have any information pertaining to crime, please report it to the police, because Tobago is we. This is not Gotham City we are living in, this is Tobago. It is no longer sufficient to simply condemn these developments. We must confront them strategically, systematically, and with the full institutional weight of this Assembly. And that is precisely what I intend to do with the legislative support and guidance from my colleagues, and specifically the Secretary for Legal Affairs, Secretary Joseph Wallace. We are committed to addressing the root cause while simultaneously strengthening the institutional capacity to respond swiftly. Mr. Presiding Officer, I have been deliberate and meticulous in laying the foundation for a comprehensive public safety and security framework that will save and serve Tobago. I will not go into extensive detail at this time, as many pillars remain in its development phase, and it is prudent at this stage to allow the work to progress, but I can assure this House in the coming months we will be able to formally present with great pride the full scope of what has been designed and soon be delivered. But what I can say is this: Tobago will soon have a security apparatus that is modern, integrated, and tailored specifically to Tobago needs and circumstances. Although our approach is multifaceted, our object is simple: to create a safer Tobago through prevention, preparedness, protection, and partnership, because it needs every citizen to assist in the preservation and prevention of crime. And those who work on boats will know when we say captain, which will be our chief secretary, we need all hands on deck, not just meaning we assemblymen, but all law-abiding citizens of Tobago. Mr. Presiding Officer, this matter weighs heavily upon me. School violence and gradual erosion of discipline among young people. No society can flourish when its children are at risk within the very institutions established to shape and develop them. The incidents we hear in schools about altercations, weapons, intimidation, alleged sexual misconduct, and growing influence of criminal elements demand a sustained response. I had forwarded a document to Secretary Kerr in the Division of Education, Skills and Innovation, where we will be advancing plans for a security lecture caravan, a structured mobile educational security awareness program that will visit schools across Tobago to address youth violence, gang violence, substance abuse, cyber safety, and indiscipline. The initiative will be delivered in collaboration with the Division of Education, Skills and Innovation, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service, the Trinidad and Tobago Regiment, and the faith-based organizations. Through mentorship, education, and career guidance, we aim to equip young people with the values, discipline, and life skills needed to make positive choices. We intend to work closely with the division to develop collaborative programs to support youth development, focusing on intervention, prevention, and workforce readiness strategies within the security sector. We firmly believe that investing in discipline, leadership, and civic responsibility at an early age, we can create a generation of young people who will become part of the solution rather than contributors of the problem. Mr. Presiding Officer, I am committed to strengthening the relationship with two organizations that have for generations played a vital role in the development of Tobago's young people, and that is the Trinidad and Tobago Cadet Force and the Maritime Battalion, or Marine Cadets managed by Naval Lieutenant Mr. Dave Elliott. The Cadet and Marine Cadet Corps, based in Tobago, mainly at Roxborough Secondary School, will be active partners in our school-based discipline and safety outreach efforts, and will serve as visible examples to our youth of what structured service and responsible conduct look like in practice. The cadet program serves as a powerful youth development initiative, equipping participants with essential maritime and outdoor skills such as swimming, diving, kayaking, and rope work, while fostering discipline, respect for authority, teamwork, and a strong sense of responsibility. But beyond my outreach, Mr. Presiding Officer, we have a greater vision. It is our intention to develop a formal pathway through the graduates of these values-based military-style programs can transition directly into employment opportunities within Tobago, emerging law enforcement protective services, and emergency management sectors. These young people, meaning our cadets, already possesses the foundational building blocks of effective security professionals: discipline, respect for authority, physical conditioning, maritime awareness, emergency response, and an understanding of structure and command, which are rooted in Tobago's own community. This pilot project will signify that young Tobagoans who are given structure, opportunity, and purpose can be channeled into productive, law-abiding, and community-serving careers. Partnering with stakeholders, sports programs, summer camp initiatives, and security-based mentorship will help cultivate the next generation of public safety professionals, and all form part of this broader Tobago ecosystem. I firmly believe that investing in our young people before they become statistics is one of the most effective strategies for reducing crime and building safer communities. The department also proposes to implement a defensive driving and fleet safety program for drivers across THA divisions before expanding to the wider public. The program will train government drivers in advanced defensive driving techniques, improve fuel efficiency and vehicle maintenance, promote a culture of responsible driving across the public service. The expected outcome, reduction in motor vehicle accidents, improve safety of the THA fleet operations, increase road safety awareness among citizens, which is very critical right now and crucial for we in Tobago. As we know, we have, this weekend is a busy weekend we call Island Crushers and paint. And I could honestly say that my son was involved in an accident last year, so that's why I bring this in my debate. We have to be very mindful whilst we're on our nation roads, right? Mr. Presiding Officer, no contribution on safety and security will be complete without speaking of the work of the Tobago Emergency Management Agency, better known as TEMA, which is being led by Director Mr. Alan Stewart. TEMA has been and continues to be an indispensable pillar of Tobago's emergency preparedness response framework as climate-related threats and man-made disasters become more prevalent. The importance of a well-equipped and properly resourced emergency management agency cannot be overstated. TEMA faces several operational challenges stemming from aging infrastructure and resource constraints. In this term, priority attention will be given to the replacement of the aging Flagstaff repeater tower and associated communications terminal, the completion, repairs, and renovation of the Tobago Emergency Operations Center at Fairfield Complex, refurbishment works at the CERT facility in Mara to improve accommodation for personnel, and the commissioning of a vessel following a formal transfer of sargassum-related marine assets. These are not insurmountable challenges, but they must be named, resourced, and addressed. Let me explain a little about the vessel. We know sometimes when we call on Coast Guard, we don't get the response that we have. Most times they say we have a vessel on dock. So if we have a vessel with us, we can be able to assist fisher folk who are missing at sea and to assist in whatever way we can. We're talking about any incidents within the territorial waters of Tobago. Mr. Presiding Officer, I conclude on a vision of what Tobago can become. What it must become remains alive and burning in the heart of this administration. The educational security caravans will reach our schools. The cadet pathway into employment will create new opportunities for our youths. The collaborative efforts with our divisions to pool resources to enhance initiatives for the people of Tobago. TEMA will be better resourced. The security apparatus, being carefully constructed, will in due time be revealed to the people of Tobago in its full form. And when that day comes, Tobago will see the fruits of what has been sown in this season of patience, deliberate, nation-building work. These initiatives embody the principles of result-based governance by focusing on prevention, education, community partnership, and measurable outcomes. Mr. Presiding Officer, I close by giving honor to Almighty God, whose grace and wisdom must guide all that we do in service of this blessed island. I give thanks for the privilege of standing in this chamber on behalf of my district and the people of Tobago. I give full support to the budget read by Secretary of Finance, Ms. Councillor Petal Ann Roberts, and her staff. This budget gives us the tools to do more, and we will deliver under the leadership of our Chief Secretary, the Honorable Father Chavez Augustine. And trust me, this administration will deliver. May God continue to bless the people of Tobago and Trinidad in order for us to become the greatest little island on this planet. We must work together. Mr. Presiding Officer, I thank you.
Councillor Joseph Wallace, you may now join the debate. Right.
Good afternoon, Presiding Officer, members of the Assembly, employees of the Legislature, persons in the gallery, those who are viewing online. Mr. Presiding Officer, with your leave, I would like to rely on 42.6, please.
Leave is granted.
Thank you. Mr. Presiding Officer, it is with great pride that I rise to support the budget and make my contribution to this year's budget debate on behalf of the newly created Division of Legal Affairs. But before I get to the substance of my contribution, Mr. Presiding Officer, I wish to place on record my gratitude to the Honorable Chief Secretary, Mr. Fali Chavez Augustin, the member for Palatuvier, and for Miss Speyside, for having the foresight to bring to fruition a Division of Legal Affairs in the Tobago House of Assembly, and of course for choosing me to head this division. Mr. Presiding Officer, I do not take this opportunity lightly. I am grateful and look forward to exemplifying the confidence reposed in me by delivering results to the people of Tobago. And Mr. Presiding Officer, my gratitude is not just about personal opportunity. It is recognition that Tobago is at a pivotal crossroad. On Monday, my esteemed colleague, Councillor Petal Roberts, Secretary of Finance, Trade and Economy, delivered a budget-themed results-based governance. And the headlines screamed the projected price tag, and the talking heads talked, and the hitherto politically euthanized found new life. But the budget is not just about accounting. Results-based governance is about power. Results-based governance is about dignity. Results-based governance is about outcomes, deliverables, and lasting impacts for the people we serve. And results-based governance is about the right of Tobagonians to govern our affairs with competence and confidence. But results-based governance cannot be achieved if the legal architecture of the Tobago House of Assembly is underpowered, under-resourced, and over-dependent on external authorities for the exercise of functions that ought properly to be within the Assembly's own competence. And if Tobago is expected to plan, fix, deliver, monitor, and evaluate with seriousness, then the legal machinery behind those functions must be equally serious. It must be robust, competent, and results-driven. And the people of Tobago did not resoundingly place us here to be timid. They did not send us here to manage decline. They sent us here to build, to fix, to defend, to transform, and to demand the tools of self-government in a real and practical way. And that is why constitutional autonomy is not a slogan. It is the central political task of this era. Thus, Mr. Presiding Officer, the Division of Legal Affairs' mandate is not only administrative in the ordinary sense, it is constitutional, institutional, developmental, and foundational to the future of Tobago. And I say plainly that autonomy without authority is empty language. It is a farce, it is a promise made in words but denied in practice. And Tobago needs the legal power to make law, to execute policy, and to manage critical sectors with real jurisdiction and real responsibility. Because we are expected to deliver results-based governance, and we require the institutional strength to govern, not merely to administer. And the weakness of the modern Tobago House of Assembly as an institution must be acknowledged frankly. Historically, the Assembly has a proud legislative story. Just this year, we celebrated 250-year illustration of this in the legal protection of the main ridge. But the modern Assembly's constitutional form has never fully matched the aspirations of a self-governing island administration. So in practice, the Assembly drafts bills, but does not itself possess final authority to enact legislation as a fully independent legislature would. Most recently, we saw this in the Marine Parks Bill, which, though unanimously passed here, awaits approval at the Centre. And earlier today, the Chief Secretary informed us that the bill may not even reach the floor of the Parliament in this parliamentary term, that best case scenario is September. But in the intervening period, what do we have? We have to rely on the court to legislate and regulate on matters crucial to Tobago's patrimony and environmental legacy, in the absence of the THE having an enforceable lawmaking function. Mr. Presiding Officer, long-standing limitations like these have affected institutional confidence, procedural certainty, and the scope of Tobago's internal decision-making. And that is why the question of autonomous power and autonomy is not a theoretical one. It goes to the heart of whether Tobago can govern itself effectively in the areas for which it is responsible. Now, if the Assembly is to be more than a corporate body administering delegated functions, it must steadily build the legal, procedural, and institutional capacity that makes autonomy meaningful in practice, not merely symbolic in language. And autonomy without legal authority is a promise without an engine. And look at the comparison, Mr. Presiding Officer. The United Kingdom consists of England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. In Scotland, the Parliament legislates on devolved matters such as health, education, environment, housing, justice, local government, planning, and much of transport. It also has meaningful tax powers and a clearly defined constitutional space in which it can act. And that is what a serious subnational legislative model looks like. That is what institutional confidence looks like. And that is the minimum standard Tobago should demand for itself. By contrast, however, Tobago's legislative autonomy remains too fragile, too dependent, and too limited by a framework that has not kept pace with the island's democratic maturity. So we cannot continue to pretend that administrative delegation is the same thing as constitutional empowerment, because it is not. Because autonomy without authority is political theater, and Tobago deserves something stronger, cleaner, and more durable. And that is why I say the call before us is not for tinkering, it's not for little fixes here and there. It is for deeper constitutional and institutional reform. Tobago needs a settlement that gives its institutions real authority over the critical areas of island governance, and that settlement must be supported by serious legal architecture, not wishful language. And the people of Tobago should not be asked to settle for a lesser model when stronger subnational systems elsewhere have already shown us what meaningful autonomy can achieve. And these realities demonstrate why the division of legal affairs is so important. This division is not a back office function cloaked in obscurity and mystery. It is the legal engine of self-government, the institutional shield of the Assembly, and the drafting house of Tobago's future. Because without strong legal affairs, there's no strong autonomy. Without drafting power, there's no serious legislative agenda. Without legal authority, there's no credible self-governing institution. These underscore why legislating drafting matters so profoundly, because the function of legislative drafting is not simply to prepare text. It is to translate policy into enforceable authority and to do so with clarity, coherence, and legal precision. A modern assembly must be able to shape its agenda, frame its priorities, and produce draft institutions that are defensible, internally consistent, and ready for the legislative pathway that follows. And for those reasons, legislative drafting capacity is not a luxury in the division of legal affairs. It is a core instrument of institutional self-respect and one of the pillars on which the division must stand. But, Mr. Presiding Officer, it is not our intention to engage in a competitive legal legislative process. We wish to collaborate, and the Tobago House of Assembly does not intend to operate in isolation from institutions at the center. Where there is shared constitutional framework, the relationship between Tobago and the national legal machinery should be one of disciplined cooperation, technical exchange, and mutual respect. So the issue is not whether collaboration is necessary. It is how to make collaboration faster, more responsive, and more transparent so that Tobago's policy goals are not delayed by avoidable procedural gaps. But, Mr. Presiding Officer, laws do not appear by magic. They are shaped, refined, and translated into enforceable rules through legal drafting. And against that backdrop, the proposed work of the Division of Legal Affairs over the next fiscal year includes stronger legal advisory services, enhanced legislative drafting support, improved review of subsidiary instruments and administrative rules, closer coordination on bills and regulations, and the development of a clearer legislative pipeline for priority policies. It also includes support for the Assembly's strategic agenda in areas such as constitutional autonomy, public safety, environmental management, digital transformation, and social development. Mr. Presiding Officer, a budget-themed, results-based governance also requires a hard review of policies and procedures across the THA system. And there is some evidence of inconsistent practices, outdated procedures, unclear mandates, and insufficient internal guidance. And those weaknesses create the conditions for arbitrariness. And arbitrariness has no place in law or government intent on results-based, transparent, and accountable governance. If we want public confidence, we must build institutions that behave predictably, fairly, and lawfully. So results-based governance requires robust contracts and supporting systems that mitigate risk to the THE. Results-based governance requires us to confront the evidence of gaps in policies and procedures, the shortcomings in working practices, procedural updates, institutional guidance, and professional development. Results-based governance requires the inclusion of updated standards, improved orientation, stronger and more consistent HR policies, and robust systematic procedures that ensure transparency and accountability. And all of these matter because policy gaps create discretion without guardrails, and discretion without guardrails can quickly become arbitrariness. And a modern public institution should not have to improvise its way through basic governance matters when those matters can and should be reduced to clear, accessible policy. So for those reasons, the Division of Legal Affairs also has as part of its mandate policy review and policy creation as a major priority in the coming year. Existing policies will be audited, obsolete procedures retired, and new policies developed where institutional risk, ambiguity, and inconsistency exist. And this will include policies on decision-making standards, record management, legal review protocols, drafting procedures, digital governance, public engagement, and the handling of internal administrative matters. The aim is simply to minimize arbitrariness, strengthen fairness, and create predictable governance. And the Division of Legal Affairs will lead that correction, because results-based governance requires the Division of Legal Affairs to help clean up the rulebook of government, to tighten decision-making standards, and to ensure that proper process, not personal discretion, guides decision-maker. And Mr. Presiding Officer, permit me to give a brief insight into the activities of the Division of Legal Affairs since its inception over the past few months. And I wish to begin by thanking each and every member of staff of the Division of Legal Affairs. Though small in number, they have each provided yeoman service to not just the division, but Tobago by extension. And at the Division of Legal Affairs, we have begun the mammoth task of auditing legal departments across the Assembly, reviewing corporate governance systems and sponsorship criteria and processes. We are seeing the gaps, and we are seeing where we can strengthen and improve the process of governance. We are drafting policies, contractual documents, and strengthening agreements to protect the interests of the Assembly, and more importantly, Tobagonians. And we will continue to develop standard operating procedures and policies, as well as terms of reference as required throughout the Assembly. But, Mr. Presiding Officer, if we are serious about building a capable Assembly grounded in results-based governance, then we must invest in our people. Training and exposure are not luxuries, they are necessities. Training and exposure are part and parcel of becoming the greatest little island on the planet. And results-based governance requires staff to be trained to operate in a modern governance environment. Results-based governance requires that staff gain exposure to regional and international best practices. It requires that staff have structured opportunities to build the competence that serious self-governance requires. And central to us at the Division of Legal Affairs is collaborating with accredited institutions to bring training and exposure closer to home. And within the next few weeks, we hope to commence formal conversations with accredited tertiary-level institutions to this end. Because at the Division of Legal Affairs, we do not simply intend to talk the talk of continuous legal education. We've already begun to walk the walk. And results-based governance requires capacity building that is buttressed by internationalization, because Tobago cannot build a 21st century government with a 20th century mindset. We must learn from best practice, study how strong parliaments and island administrations operate, and bring that knowledge here home to us in Tobago. Results-based governance requires us to build a legal and administrative culture that is outward-looking, modern, and ready to engage the wider Caribbean and the world. So some of our priorities at the Division of Legal Affairs in this regard include, but are not limited to, for example, the Basque model of autonomy, constitutional lessons for enhanced self-government in Tobago, with specific focus on the Basque fiscal and revenue sharing model, principles of fiscal autonomy, revenue generation, and intergovernmental transfers. And earlier today, Assembly Member James would have spoken about revenue sharing and so on. We are also looking at sustainable development for resilience financing as a means of building, supporting, and sustaining Tobago's economic resilience and environmental sustainability objectives. Because results-based governance requires that Tobago not develop its legal and policy functions in an inward-looking way, but that we draw on international best practice in legislative drafting, parliamentary administration, environmental governance, digital public administration, and climate policy. It also requires the environmental law agenda to have special emphasis, because Tobago's future is really inseparable from the condition of its coastline, marine resources, forests, watersheds, and built environment. And Councillor Roberts identified in the budget marine parks, coastal rehabilitation, reforestation, energy audits, and broader environmental protection as strategic priorities. But results-based governance would require that those priorities be backed by legal frameworks that are enforceable, coherent, and durable. And sustainable environmental-related law and policies are therefore supposed to be part and parcel of this agenda, because development without environmental sustainability is simply just reckless. And at the Division of Legal Affairs, we have already begun and intend to continue the task of developing and supporting legal frameworks that enable environmental compliance, planning discipline, conservation enforcement, and climate adaptation. Because results-based governance requires that Tobago speak convincingly about development through concerted protection of the natural systems that make development possible. So we at the division have sought in our own little way to raise the profile of environmental law as an immediate concern here in Tobago. And as part of the division's observation of World Environmental Day 2026, we hosted the top performing student in International Environmental Law 2026 at the University of the West Indies St. Augustine campus, Faculty of Law, Mr. Varian Narayan. And our hope in activities such as those, is really to shine a light on environmental law, to make it more attractive to students of law so that they will be able to take up the mantle of environmental stewardship here in Tobago. But we also understand from a results-based governance perspective the importance of climate resilience as a governance issue, because it's not just an environmental slogan. In small island jurisdictions, climate shocks can quickly become fiscal shocks, public safety shocks, and social shocks. So results-based governance requires us to anticipate and prepare for climate risk rather than merely react to it. And no amount of talk will save us from the consequences of environmental neglect. I also wish to mention that at the Division of Legal Affairs, and by extension the Tobago House of Assembly, we are finally at a point where the introduction of carbon sequestration as a financial data point in Tobago's planning and budgeting framework can become a reality. So over the next fiscal year, the division will be working assiduously towards realizing the implementation of aspects of climate resilience and nature-based development through carbon sequestration as part of the island's public finance and environmental accounting architecture. And I know Councillor Roberts would be particularly interested wherever there is an opportunity for more funding. Now, this would allow us to quantify the climate value of the main ridge, mangroves, soil regeneration, and other ecological interventions to support better budgeting, better project selection, and better access to climate finance. Because results-based governance is Tobago beginning to connect environmental stewardship to economic intelligence and long-term sustainability. And Mr. Presiding Officer, we cannot talk about results-based governance without discussing the digital economy. And these bold moves that we've all discussed here today require digitization and data capture as urgent governance priorities. And Councillor Roberts, in her presentation on Monday, identified the need for digital infrastructure, AI transformation, interoperable platforms, and security by design here in Tobago. It is imperative for Tobagonians to be equipped for this digital world. But even more, these are imperatives for us at the Division of Legal Affairs, because digitization improves efficiency, record keeping, auditability, and service delivery. And digitization is also a public safety issue, because poor data systems increase the risks of lost records, delayed decisions, weak oversight, and fragmented emergency responses. Result-based governance means that secure digital governance is not merely about convenience. It is about state capacity, public protection, privacy, and confidentiality. And these are not technical side matters. They are central to modern results-based public governance. And a government that cannot capture data efficiently cannot plan efficiently. A government that cannot manage digital records cannot protect institutional memory. And a government that cannot secure its information systems is exposing the public to risk. And a government that cannot secure its systems is creating risks for service delivery, transparency, and public safety. And these reasons are why digitization must be treated as both an efficiency agenda and a public safety concern. Accordingly, the Division of Legal Affairs supports digitized workflows for legal review, policy tracking, document management, version control, and interdivisional coordination, because better data capture will strengthen legislative drafting, improve institutional memory, and support evidence-based decision-making. It will also make monitoring and evaluation more credible, allow for emphasis on measurable outcomes, real-time monitoring, and output-based management. And in a particularly litigious society such as ours, such transparency will allow for both public and private accountability. It is essentially the backbone of trust. So, Mr. Presiding Officer, Tobago stands at a moment where institutional reform, legal modernization, and practical delivery must move together. The history of the Assembly tells us all about what Tobago has lacked, but the results-based governance 2026-2027 planning framework tells us what Tobago now seeks to become. And those are the right words, Mr. Presiding Officer. But Tobago will only benefit from those words if we pair them with constitutional reform, legal capacity, and a serious commitment to institutional excellence. Results-based governance requires us to pair these strategies with supporting legal infrastructure to govern with confidence. So, Mr. Presiding Officer, as I close, I humbly stand before you as a child of Tobago and a proponent of this administration's vision for Tobago. And I hope that I have made very clear that this budget is part of a larger struggle for Tobago's political maturity. The Division of Legal Affairs is committed to doing the hard work.
You have 3 minutes of speaking time.
Thank you, please. Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. The Division of Legal Affairs is committed to doing the hard work of building the legal foundation of self-government. That means stronger drafting, stronger policy review, stronger capacity, stronger digital systems, stronger law, stronger institutional discipline, and above all, stronger autonomy. And it is this administration's intention to use this year not just to administer Tobago, but to strengthen Tobago's power to govern itself with confidence, clarity, and authority. We are ready. Tobago is ready. Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer.
Members, sitting is suspended for half an hour. We will return at 5 minutes past 5.
Members rise.